Yeah, so tell us your name, a little about your background, and lead into how you got off into writing and performing poetry.
My name is Yvonne Michelle Autry. I was born in Inglewood 50 some years ago. Be 53 in November. There's life experiences, and sometimes to make sense of the life experiences, as well as to share what we have grown through. Spirit tells us to write, use the gifts that we have. So, writing and speaking is my first, it's just what I do, no thought. Love to dance, piano. So my life is about, telling my story.
Mm-hmm.
So, Spirit was, write, express. I was feeling what I have grown through, successes, some of the growth that people call tragedy, I try to call a blessing. So this is about 25 years ago. I'd always been like creative writing. I was always encouraged in elementary school, high school, and then in college at UCLA to creative write. And I had some tutors, at one tutor especially, this, you have ideas. She helped me to develop an idea so that I could hopefully use my words to really create the image and express what I was saying. So then about 25 years ago, Spirit said, write poetry. I'm like, well, and it just, that inspiration or that commandment or that directive wouldn't leave me. So I just started a creative write, and I just started to flow. And there was a venue called Midnight Special Bookstore on 3rd Street Promenade. I used to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started to do, Spirit was just telling me to express, and then the words were just coming, and just like the speaking, which is my first or dominant gift, it just started to flow more naturally, And then I realized I'm not really a ham, but I like to be on stage,
So you would read your own work during
Yes,
that time?
yes. At that time, I was doing, and I was just having a ball. First it helped me to work through some shyness from when I was young, not too much, but it just helped me to really express myself. And I was, I really would feel the audience, and then it seemed as though they enjoy what they call a charisma or some energy. And then I just was able to express what was in my heart, my experiences, and sharing that. And I was able to continue to use that talent, hopefully, to reach someone, inspire someone.
Let me ask you this. You are one of the few people that have had the chance to meet three of my favorite poets. And I mean, these brothers was just, people find out years from now how great they was. I want to talk about each one of them and get your comments on how you met them and your thoughts about their style, etc., like that. Let's start off with Ron Allen, which a lot of people don't know about because he come up out of Detroit. But go ahead and talk about Ron Allen as a poet and artist.
Well, the written word, spoken word, singing, music, dance, painting, drawing, whatever the medium of art for me, expression, not only is just, the artist expressing and making contact and teaching and parts of the mind or the spirit or the soul, and this is what art is for me. It's communication. My poetry, even when you dance, it's communication. So Ron took that to a whole nother level. His philosophy,
Yeah.
his experiences, his words, his music, it was on just a whole nother level of genius, a whole nother level of sensitization, a whole nother level of awakening for me. His words and his work, I had the pleasure of narrating. My eyes are the cage of my Head, I believe.
I remember that piece.
Yeah. Not only was I grateful because I didn't have no money, and Ricardo invited me just when I needed the money to, to participate in Los Angeles Poverty Department's LAPD production of Ron Allen's play. I had the pleasure of working with incredible artists, of course, the writer Ron Allen, Sarah Chris.
And he was into a lot of, the difference in his poetry is he could transcend so many types. But because was a Vietnam veteran, he had come out of the using a lot of drugs and all that kind of stuff. He focused a lot on recovery. He seemed to, that's why I make a difference between the other two we're going to talk about in a minute, Sunji and Dr. Mongo. But that's what I saw a lot in Ron's work, what he was trying to pass that experience on, since he had been a drug addict at one time, that his work kind of touched on that. Let's talk about the next brilliant person, Sunji Ali. As a matter of fact, I think you did the last interview with Sunji Ali, because I still have that interview which you did. Can you talk a little about Sunji?
Yes, and I just want to touch on the fact that, Sunji and Ron had like completely different styles, completely different brothers, amazing in each of their own genius, of course, means of being vessels for whatever they felt, and the way in which they could express themselves and reach and teach and inspire and expand the mind and the spirit and the soul, and help people to evolve as artists. For instance, Ron, in writing, in being able to participate in that particular production, I think he was able to take his experience and through his characters, not only recreate maybe some of his experiences from his past, the drug dealer, the beautiful girl, and some, the capitalist, and it was bringing to life his past and his present, and then I think kind of opening up our minds so that we can learn from his past and participate in the present. I don't even know if I have words, and I'm never at a loss for words for expressing just the depth of perception that Ron Allen had. Jazz is something intangible, and the way that he expressed his experiences, his feelings, his emotions, and reaching the audience and explaining why the drug dealer is like that, why the sister, maybe this prostitute, she's so beautiful, and why the capitalist is a black capitalist, and in community, because these characters were all in community, in transcendence, in present, past, future, relating, but Sunji for me brought it back to earth. Sunji, was more about the soul. He was with the Watts artist. What was the name of it? The Watts.
Soul Vision.
Okay, the Soul Vision. And he was rooted in the community. So for me, they were like completely separate but amazingly genius, because Ron was bringing something that was figurative, imaginative, soul, spirit, transcendent, so that we could rise to another level of consciousness, expressing what was happening in community, in our culture, within our race relations, soul expression, encouraging other artists, giving opportunities to other artists. So he was more of a grounding experience for me. Loved them both.
With the landing play that we just got to performing, that's why I opened the play with Ron.
Yeah.
So the first musical piece in there is a piece called Bobby's Sing, and that's by Ron Allen, because he fit right in. And I'm also going to work in a little small piece about Sunji, too. He had a piece called Homeboy.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's on your Homeboy.
Yeah.
Home.
Yeah. That was one of his last pieces. Because Sunji worked extensively with Dr. Mongo for a long time, working at the Leimert Park area. Uh, let's talk about, and you're talking about a person with jazz. Every time I think about Sunji, I love to hear
Yeah.
him do that Langston Hughes piece.
Yeah, his
Weary Blues, you know,
yes.
where he could just, you know, he just had that almost like a Louis Armstrong, how he used to hang his horn, and Suji could do that with his voice. You know, he hang that long note in between, and one of the famous pieces that he would always do was, I got the weary blues. You know, he would do that. But now Dr. Mongo, see, Dr. Mongo to me had this driving style when he would do, and I think it had a lot to do with his experience too, because someone who had did a little time, and he had this famous piece called Penitentiary, you know, which was one of his signature pieces. But the best piece, the most amazing piece, was the one he called Jacks, when he would do Jacks and all that kind of stuff. And I remember, still got the video, but we used to work out of the firehouse, and I still got you, Twin, Dr. Mongo, 7 or 8 people doing, Sarah Cruz, all over there doing pieces. 'Cause you did your signature piece over there, but I still got all of those videos. But talk about Dr. Mongo's style, because all 3 of these had a different style. Can you talk about Dr. Mongo for a minute?
Yes, the poem that I remember that you used to love that I wrote, Melvin, was The Bounty,
Yeah.
right? And so what, just,
And This Land, you had another piece called This Land.
The
What you talking
Land.
about? The land, yeah.
and then that could, this, it
Could have been me,
could have
about
been
the-
me,
yeah.
about the black woman. But also just in segueing to discuss Dr. Mongo, Sunji was always so encouraging. Ron was too. All of you brothers, I'm so grateful. You encourage us to continue to grow and develop and be productive and prolific and share and contribute, right? Because that's why we're here, you know, to share our gifts, multiply and share and touch people. And this is like, it's a spiritual nourishment. It helps us, but it also reaches the people. I mean, I'll never forget, Sunji was always encouraging. When I went to see him in the hospital, he was still encouraging, you know. And we were always seeing eye to eye, but it was love and it was always encouragement. And a lot of, his poetry was rhythmic like that. And that was like,
Jazz.
it was jazz music and math, you know, and his intonations. It's again, completely different style than Ron, completely a different, type of energy and expression, but I love them both, and again, I learned from them both, and most inspired by both, most inspired and touched by both, and I think it helped me hopefully to learn so much so I could express myself more clearly. Now, Dr. Mongo, you know, what I loved about Dr. Mongo, my favorite that I remember was I Am Rigged, or It Is Rigged. You know, and in working in the community as a community activist or wannabe community advocate, working towards action, brother, action. Yeah, action is a whole nother level of love, really. So, you know, here's why I'm rigged. It's like this whole basis of action is rigged, and it's such a deep style. He was direct, hitting hard like that. You know, Sunji was more lyrical in music. Ron was completely spiritual, transcendent on a whole nother level. So again, these are amazing artists with completely different styles. Genre, well, yeah, it's all about still, you know, black people, our community, our experiences from different perspectives, of course. So, as humans, as black people in America, and our experiences and what we bring and what we've experienced and lived through and what we have survived through in our community, in our history, in our culture and music. But Dr. Mongo was just hitting it hard. So what I like as a community advocate is he didn't bite his tongue. This is what I liked about Mongo. He didn't bite his tongue. He'd be all in his face, and your face doing, you know, and I am rigged. And I love that because it, as an artist, I don't know if other artists deal with that, with, you know, always being true to self. So he would always encourage me, no matter what, be true to self, right? Yeah, you want to, you know, entertain, but it's not even about that for me. It's just like, I have to deliver and, and, and do my poetry the way somebody like it, good, I'm gonna do it anyway. And I got that integrity and that purity of deliverance, or that purity of expression, which is for me true art. Like Dr. Mongo, he just got up and did it. You know, I'm rigged. And penitentiary, I vaguely remember, but I remember at LA Can, Los Angeles Community Action Network.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he. This was on the art walk, and then was it Monaji?
Monaji.
Yeah, but I liked he was pure. That's what I liked about Mongo. I mean, not that Suji and Ron were, they were, but it's just Mongo. He just be hitting it like, you know, that's what it is.
Okay.
And I like that.
Just a couple more things I want to ask you before we, and then we're going to close out. I want to talk about your what I consider a community down in the downtown area. One question I want to ask you, what do you think it would take to make a dent into what we see happening down there in Skid Row?
An act of God.
No, you're probably right. You know, because I'm beginning to think the same thing in relationship to that.
But I can express. Okay, I'm not. I mean, I'm not just trying to be flippant or amusing, but it would have to be an act of God, because you have to understand it's engineered. So the government has engineered as a containment area. Originally, organically, there were white men predominantly in Skid Row, and now I don't believe it's an organic or natural occurrence that it's predominantly black men and women, fewer Hispanic people, very few, mostly black people. So they want us there, okay? So the art that comes out of there, many incredibly talented people, some whose art was ripped off. Again, but I think in lifting the people up off of Skid Row and giving them voice, like Muhammad did with Skid Row Live, you see the wealth and the incredible, the rich talent that is still there. Some, again, that were robbed of their birthright, robbed of that inheritance, robbed of that opportunity, pushed to the side. But, you know, they're there, and through opportunities like Qumran, are able to still sing and use their music.
Here's my quick thoughts, because, you know, over a period of time, I've had a chance to interview OG at the Qumran before, Ted Hayes, General Jeff, Wendell. I've talked with Pete and Becky in depth and all that kind of stuff. Talked to a lot of people down there. When I look at Skid Row, I think about two major things. And to me, I consider the percentage is like 95% African American that inhabit that area. I think it had a lot to do with so much illegal immigration coming in that could change the whole outlook of places like Watts. I believe that most of the people that we see in Skid Row right now, when you look at Watts, there used to be a huge majority black African American population. And then you have to wonder what happened to the black community. The black community is in Skid Row. Now, I think, one of the things I think we're going to have to start looking closely at Skid Row. And what do Skid Row have? And I've had this conversation with Catherine Menini. I mentioned this to her. The thing that Skid Row have going for it is numbers. Got to figure out some kind of way to turn these numbers into political action, because that's what, in a town like Los Angeles, these big cities that's facing gentrification, you know, you have to turn, we got to make sure that the people that we have down there in Skid Row, we can't let them come up with a solution where they want to move people out. We got to figure out a way to empower the people that's there, because that to me equates to political power. In terms of, when I first came down to Skid Row, I always thought that, and I've been watching this area since my military days, when people used to sleep in the movies.
Oh, yeah.
That's where the homeless stayed at, the 99-cent movies. They used to live there all night, go in there, live in the movies, close the movies down, and Skid Row blew up in relationship to that. I always thought back then that you should develop, like, the person that's the city council for Skid Row area right now that's going through all of this illegal feds getting ready to come down. Nowhere in the world these individuals should be representing Skid Row on the city council. And the reason that they are representing Skid Row on areas like Skid Row is because the inhabitants of Skid Row haven't been able to turn their numbers into concrete political voting action down there. So that's what I'm hoping to happen, because I don't think you're going to see a situation where the descendants of slave American, African Americans, able to take these communities back, like we was talking about Watson, Compton, Beale Street, areas you was talking about back east like that. But anyway, we probably got a couple more minutes. Oh yeah, I think I better get your closing comments. Let me get your closing comments.
Well,
and then we have to close this down.
okay, well, what I was
Go
saying
ahead.
about, an act of God, God works through people, right, like you, like Bobby Buck, like Pete White, like General Jeff, like Charles Porter, see? So God works through us, and I think that we are still here and alive. Like I said, God rest the soul of Ron, and God rest the soul of Sunji Ali, and God rest the soul of Dr. Mongo, but we're still here. So, yeah, God uses us to create this change, because these artists are powerful in expressing, or yes, in expressing or being a reflection of what is happening, or what should happen, or what is not happening in Skid Row. So the artists use their gifts to express, okay, what the city is not doing for us, what the police are doing to us, where they're murdering us, okay, right, the police brutality, there's rage, right, not giving us the money from H and H, the affordable housing. That's what my poem, The Land, was all about when regentrification had just started on my watch 16 years ago. So I think that, and then there's extermination of black people.
Okay.
Okay, mostly felt on Skid Row. So I think, yeah, in getting the people to continue to express, whether it's politically, artistically, the fact that we are targeted for extinction, using our art to express that. Jeff is trying to do through the formation of the Skid Row Neighborhood Council. Hopefully we can make
that happen.
Yeah, and also govern ourselves, which is what LA Can is all about. So this is what we're fighting for, so that we're fighting for our lives, we're fighting for our voice, and we're fighting for our souls, so that we can keep our integrity and govern self. So that won't be taken away from, like Rosewood.
Okay, well
like Black Wall Street.
let me say this, because we got to close up now. I know these people, that's probably who was ringing me up to come pick me up. But I'm the same thing. I want to get probably before this month is out, I want to get you, and I want to get you Hassan as my guest on the radio show. Okay. And then we'll be able to play some of these clips when we go through. Okay, thank you very much for excellent interview. And we'll close off now. And I'm looking forward to the two of you coming on the show. And we're going to have an in-depth discussion.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you so